Okay. In the previous lecture, we saw an example of how we can exploit the SQL injection inside of DBWA application. But right now, let's see how we can apply the same command that we used to exploit it, which I have written right here. This is the command or the end command that we use to extract all of the data from the database. Let's see how we can change it to make it work on the medium level. So last video was on low level. Now let's change it to medium and submit and navigate back to the SQL injection. Now, if we try to run the same command, let me just copy this, and we try to run it, it will not work. It will result in an error. Luckily, this error does give us a little bit more information than it should. For example, if we scroll all the way to the right, here we will see how exactly our command is getting processed in the page. You can see wherever we have a single quote specified, it is getting filtered by a backslash. So every time we specify a single quote, it adds a backslash, the application adds a backslash, which then results in my SQL error. This command is not valid once it has this backslash. Another thing that we can notice is that it doesn't really give us the entire command at all. It only gives us a part of the command. This could mean that there could be a character limitation that we can specify. Let's give it a try to see how we can bypass this backslash and how we can actually bypass the character limitation in case there is one. So let's go back to the page and let's delete this. Let's delete all of it. And the first thing that I want to take a look at is the source code. Let's enlarge this. And what we are mostly interested in is the actual query used to query the database. Of course, the source code is not something that we would have in a real application, but luckily, during the practice, we can take a look at the source code and figure out how we can exploit this. You will notice one main difference that differs this application from the low-level application. Our ID or our input is not getting stored between the single quotes. This is really good because this can help us bypass the single quote problem that gets filtered by a backslash. Because if it doesn't get added between the single quotes, we don't really need to use single quotes at all. We can type a command that looks something like this. So if we take this same command, we can make it work if we run it like this. To union, select, concat, and let's type user ID. Now, since this is getting processed as a character, we must remove it altogether. So what we're going to do is we're just going to type it like this, user ID, and then first name. The only problem with this is that these users and first and last names are not going to be visibly divided by the semicolon. Nonetheless, it's still better than not extracting any data, so we can run it like this. We need to specify the user and the password, and we're extracting this from dbwa.users. We specify 2 dashes to comment out the rest of the command, and if we copy this, go back to our application and run it, well, here it is. It worked successfully. We managed to extract all of the data just by removing the single quotes from our command, as we can see right here. It appears to be that is the only filter. I thought there could maybe be a character limitation filter there as well, but that could easily be bypassed. We could just remove the unnecessary data, such as, for example, this one. We don't really need the user ID, the first or last name. Only thing we are interested in are users and passwords. And we can type it like this: to union select, 1 comma, and then concat user password from dbwa users. And this will make our command even shorter, allowing us to perhaps bypass the character limitation. Let's give it a try to see whether this command will also work. And before I type it in, you will take a look at the only problem that we have is that the first last name is not getting separated, and the username and password are also not getting separated. But we are extracting them nonetheless. Let's take a look at this third command to see whether it will work. And it will work. We removed specifying the first and last name, so now in the first name field we only get number 1, which we specified right here. And in the last name field, we get the username and password all together. And we get that, as usual, for every user in the application. Nonetheless, I just wanted to show you how we can exploit the SQL injection on medium level. And in the next lecture, we're going to tackle the subject of blind SQL injection. See you there.